Moondog here. We are at the Arkin booth at SHOT Show 2024, and we're going to interview PewView. So let's go meet him. PewView is a popular YouTube channel with over 800,000 subscribers, created and hosted by Nick Johnson, a competitive action shooter who, in his words, keeps you entertained with trick shots, over-the-top Pew reviews, and bad skits. We catch up with him at the Arkin booth at SHOT Show 2024. So Nick, you're a really good fast shooter. How did you get into it?
I think with speed shooting, I grew up next to a range about 10 miles away from where I was raised at, and they did like every night or every Wednesday night competition. So everybody'd show up there like 5 o'clock, and they would just do an array of different competitions, from pistol to 2-gun, 3-gun, skeet shooting. So I just show up every Wednesday night, start when I was like 14 years old, and just kind of hung out with all them guys and started competing with them.
This is your home range. How many folks were in competition back then?
There would usually be like 20. I think that was probably...
That's a fair enough. That's a fair amount. Yeah. I mean, you're in Iowa?
Yep.
Yeah. So is shooting sports really big in your particular area? Because it seems like it's a well-attended range.
I think it's just because there's so few ranges that like everybody in that area will go to something if it's going on. You know what I mean? Because if not, you got to drive 4 hours to go to a competition.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's like, how far do you usually have to go? So you just lucked out; it just happened to be in your neck of the woods. Yeah. So that's very good.
Yeah.
So tell me about. I saw that on your Insta, you had this huge trophy. Was that was for the American Air Gun?
Yeah, the American Air Gunner Challenge. It's a TV show that I did back in March. Yeah.
How did you get involved with that?
Cold email, honestly. I seen an email pop through, and a guy asked me if I wanted to compete in an air gun competition show for a chance to win $20,000. I'm like, why not?
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
That was actually the first time I've ever used any air guns, and it is so much different from shooting regular firearms. It was super weird. It is a whole nother ball game. So it was a huge learning curve, but it was really fun. I'm glad I did it.
Well, I mean, the big thing is like if you've never shot like PCP, right. It's like it's so weird, no recoil.
Yeah, and so I'm like braced out and sprawled out, expecting something, but no, you can just hang back there and it doesn't move.
And especially, I mean, if you're training with real firearms, you train yourself not to flinch, but just to realize just how your body tenses up, just preparing, as you said.
Right.
You're getting
lock
bracing.
Your shoulder and everything. You don't need to do that.
No.
Yeah,
so how's it in terms of a different mindset? What's amazing, as you didn't grow up shooting air guns, that you did so well. What do you attribute that to?
Well, my full-time job is reviewing firearms, so it's just a constant, I never get used to one single platform. I'm always doing something with, so it wasn't that hard to pick up something, try it out a little bit, kind of get used to it. I wouldn't say I'm great with them. I was just good enough to keep progressing in the show,
So that's great.
But I never was solid. I crushed that. I was just barely skimming by We got it though.
Beginner's luck then.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So we're not crushing the ego of all you hardcore air gun shooters out there. But this gentleman, don't feel bad. This gentleman is a great shooter with real steel. So
thank you.
Yeah. So when did you get started? We're talking about your full-time job reviewing guns. It's great. I totally envy you. I sort of stumbled into this as first as a hobby and then as a side gig. I really envy the fact that you could shoot and train in your own backyard, which I obviously can't, living in California. Yeah. So how did you get into to reviewing, getting into content creation?
So it was always kind of something that I wanted to do. I just, like I said, I grew up in middle of nowhere, Iowa. I didn't know anybody who had any experience with any of that, so it was kind of hard to just jump into it. So in 2019, this is when I started, I guess. I guess this was probably 2017, I'll say. I was going through Arms List, and I seen a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, and I wanted to buy it off a guy, so I met up with him. And he looked super familiar, and it just happened to be Honest Outlaw, a gun reviewer on YouTube.
Way.
Yeah, and it turns out he lives half an hour from me, so him and I just kind of became buddies and started shooting, and he started recording me when I was trying out his new firearm or something and posting me in his YouTube videos. So, and then he was doing like without me knowing, obviously, just kind of like standing over my shoulder with a phone, recording me. And I took some of them clips and posted it to TikTok. And the first like 4 I posted, I just threw them up there and then closed the app, like forgot about it. I didn't even own social media at this point. So when I went back and looked at them, each one had like 10 million views. So I'm like, I should probably keep doing that.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was kind of just by accident. It was something I wanted to do, but glad I met somebody with experience to kind of push me and mentor me. He helped me. He still helps me.
Oh, that's great.
I'd be lost without that guy. He definitely helps a lot with growth on YouTube and Instagram and everything. Yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing is like when I saw your setups, I'm like, that reminds me of in terms of your target setup and the berm.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just so funny. It's such a small world.
Yeah. It's crazy. It was half an hour from me. So. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So. You obviously been enjoying this. Let's talk a little bit more about shop. What do you like to shoot with? I mean, in terms of aside from shooting guns, but in terms of the equipment, what kind of you got some great advice. What advice would you give to an aspiring content creator in this space or really any space on YouTube?
I mean, just stay consistent with posting. Find a little niche that nobody else is doing. Find something creative and just stick to it. Just repetitive. I think people get so discouraged when they're trying to post for an entire year and not seeing any growth. It happens, so it's. I find it more helpful to find other people in the same space and just link up with them, get to, just take their advice, what to do, and it's hard in the gun world because no platforms want us on anything. Unless you can collaborate with other people, it's really hard to grow. There's no organic growth anymore. And
it's so frustrating with, you post up something and, you get dings, it's non-ad friendly, and it's just so really discouraging.
Yeah.
And, it's a grind just to get to the first rung, just the very basic rung of getting monetized. There's so many people, that's the first thing they ask me is like, how do I get monetized? Well,
The first 2 years, you're going to lose your money and your mind. You just got to hang in there and keep grinding,
Well, it's good because the important thing is you enjoy what you're doing.
Oh, I love it. I was going to do it regardless, I might as well be recording it.
100%.
That's kind of why I started, honestly. I wanted to get sponsored ammo because I was so sick of being broke all the time paying for the ammo.
That's the hardest thing. It's like, people don't appreciate that. Like, if we have to review stuff, we're going through a couple of boxes at the very least, and depending on what caliber you're shooting.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason. Well, not the primary reason, but a lot of the reason why I shoot 22s just on my own because I don't want to train dropping a dollar or more around.
Yeah, same. It's challenging, and my new addiction is 4570, so that's
You're getting into reloading?
No, I'm biting that one. Yeah.
So, how did you get involved with Arkin?
Jack, the owner of Whiskey Savage Media, kind of introduced me, and I had a scope prior, a 416 that I didn't put on anything yet, and Jack said something about...
How did you get a hold of that in the first place, the 416?
I just bought it.
Okay.
It was super good price, so I just picked it up. I needed it on, I think I was reviewing like a Savage Bolt Action 308 or something, so I just wanted a cheaper optic to put on that, and it blew my mind that it was only like $350 and that crisp, that clear. I thought something was wrong, like did they mess up somewhere? And then I started researching it, and I came across the Texas Blinking's videos on him, and he's got hundreds of them. He's a friend of mine, so when I was down visiting him at his range, he was like showing me all these different optics. I'm like, okay, I gotta start working with these guys. I really like working with companies that I actually enjoyed prior to working with them, Yeah, they make really quality stuff, and they're not trying to gouge the public like everybody else, let's be real.
And they're not just slapping their logos on things.
They're really paying attention, and if one of us has something like to say about it, like maybe if this could be a little bit better, they're always willing to take that advice and put it in their products.
So that's a good question. What kind of advice would you give Arkin in terms of their newest products? Like, have you had a chance to shoot the EP8?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, what's your thoughts on that?
I love it. I think they crushed it right out of the box, honestly. I wouldn't tell them to change a thing. I like the reticle. I like the movement, like the lever throw. I like it's great. The kill box reticle is, I like it.
Now that's a bit of an acquired taste, and I when I first saw it at first blush, I thought this is weird.
It threw me off a lot at first, but like when I understood how it worked and I was able to actually use it like it was intended to be used, I loved it. So hard to, or so easy to just like get on target at different ranges if you know what you're doing. Like if you just pick up the 1 to 8 and have no idea what the hell you're looking at for the reticle, it can be a little challenging.
And when you get past the unusualness, it just struck me as how intuitive it is. It's like I don't have to use a ranging ladder somewhere else on the reticle and then move over to my target. I'm right there.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be 100% on in terms of ranging, and there's just so many other variables in there anyway, but at least you're pretty darn close to begin with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I like kind of the busy scope looking thing. I like a busy reticle. I don't like just the crosshairs with a dot in the middle. I like being a speed shooter, I don't have time to dial in, so I like holdovers. And if I have just even like
just a couple of reference points.
Right, just reference points to like quickly hold and pull the trigger on stuff. So I like that.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Now, is there any other thing you'd change, or any other suggestions in terms of what would you like to see as a new product that you haven't seen that Arkin's come out with?
I think they need to get into the red dot game. I think they would crush that. I think their glass is really good. Their innovation's really good. I think that's a market that's constantly needing something new. Red dots.
So are you looking, would you, if just as pure speculation, if you had your druthers, would you prefer an RMR? Are you preferring an enclosed, or what kind of a red dot are you looking at?
Probably enclosed. I think the market's so saturated with open reticles right now, or open RMR style red dots. I don't think anybody's really narrowed down. Well, there's a couple companies that make really good enclosed optics, but they're so bulky, it's like a mailbox on top of your slide, Somebody could do that and keep the same like window or eye relief, smaller, that'd be great.
Yeah, if anybody could come up with it, probably they could.
Yeah, their innovation's incredible, and they got a really good team that's constantly working on everything, so I think they could do it.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what else are you going to be working on next?
Oh man, I just got a lot of content to keep up on. I'm starting to make the transition to longer platform stuff, so it's a lot of work to try to like keep pushing one a week, and getting everything lined up for the videos and all the guns lined up and sponsorships, and I think that's where my focus is going to be this year, because the last year was extremely hectic. I had a lot going on, so.
All right, but part of that is, now that you've had a little more experience, you can schedule things a little better.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Team is growing, so that's very helpful. Very helpful to have a good team to keep everything moving smoothly, because before it was just me and I was just constantly in over my head.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking the time here with me. And hopefully you have a great rest of the show.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, especially over at PewView as well. Thanks again, Nick.
Yeah, you bet.
Much appreciated. Moondog, out. What did you think of PewView's recent reviews of Arkin scopes? Leave a comment and let us know. See all of my interviews at Arkin and my SHOT Show coverage on my channel. Hit like and subscribe.